Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we have a coin that might just be hiding in your collection or even tucked away in your spare change jar, the United States 1-cent coin from 1971. Now, at first glance, this coin may seem like just another common penny. But trust me, this little piece of copper can be worth far more than its face value. Stick with us because you're about to discover why this coin could potentially fetch a staggering amount. Let's rewind to 1971. The United States was in the middle of an era of transition. The country was moving away from the silver standard, and the coins being minted were beginning to take a new form. This was the year the U.S. Treasury introduced the new penny, which was made from a copper-plated zinc composition instead of the solid copper used in previous years. So, why does this seemingly ordinary penny from 1971 stand out among millions of others? The answer lies in the rarity and the unique characteristics that make this coin a true gem in the eyes of collectors. First, let's talk about the rarity. While millions of these pennies were produced in 1971, the key to their value is the condition. Most of these pennies have been circulated through countless hands, exchanged in countless transactions, and often ended up in change jars or even lost in the streets. But the ones that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition are the ones that truly hold the most value. If you find a 1971 penny that looks like it just came out of the mint, you might be holding onto something very special. But wait, there's more to this story than just the condition. There's also a very specific error that makes certain 1971 pennies even more valuable. We're talking about the famous double die error. If you've never heard of a double die, let me explain. This error occurs during the minting process when the die, which is used to imprint the design on the coin, strikes the coin more than once. As a result, the details on the coin, like the date or lettering, appear to be doubled or slightly offset. This double strike creates a noticeable visual anomaly, and it's this very error that makes these pennies so desirable to collectors. Now, this double die error is incredibly rare. Not every 1971 penny will have it, and in fact, most don't. So if you happen to come across a 1971 penny with the double die error, you're in for a real treat. Collectors and numismatists are always on the lookout for coins with this kind of error, and when it comes to a 1971 penny, the demand is high. These coins are often auctioned off at premium prices due to their rarity and the unique mistake that makes them stand out, but there's more to this story. As time goes on, fewer and fewer people are holding onto these older pennies, especially those with errors. The number of uncirculated 1971 pennies with a double die error is shrinking, making these coins even more valuable over time. If you've got one of these rare coins, you could be holding onto something that could be worth far more than the face value of 1 cent. Now, let's talk about just how much a 1971 penny with the right condition or error can be worth. If you find a 1971 penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, it could fetch hundreds of dollars, even thousands, at auction. But if you happen to have the Holy Grail, a 1971 penny with the double die error in mint condition, it could be worth an astronomical amount. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. You might be asking yourself, how much could this penny really be worth? Well, brace yourselves, because a 1971 penny with the double die error, in perfect condition, can be worth up to $64,000. Yes, you heard that right, $64,000 for a single penny. That's more than a lot of cars, and it's certainly more than what most people expect to get from their spare change. So, if you've got one of these pennies sitting around, make sure to check it carefully. It could be worth a small fortune. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate how remarkable this is. A coin that was once considered a throwaway piece of currency, something you could easily find in your pocket change, could hold the key to a life-changing amount of money. That's the magic of numismatics, the world of coin collecting. You just never know what hidden treasures might be tucked away in your collection, waiting for you to discover them. So, coin collectors, this is your call to action. Check your change jars, look through your old coin rolls, and keep an eye out for those 1971 pennies. If you find one in pristine condition, or even better, with the double die error, you might just be sitting on a gold mine. And who knows, you could end up with a piece of history that's worth a whole lot more than you ever imagined. Top 2, we've got something truly intriguing for you, an unsung gem from the United States Mint, the 1981 1-cent coin. Now, at first glance, this might seem like just another penny, one that you'd throw in your pocket and forget about. But what if I told you this small coin could be worth far more than its face value? Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll be shocked at how much a 1981 penny could be worth. Let's set the scene. 1981. Ronald Reagan was president, the US was in the midst of economic recovery after a period of stagflation, and the world was shifting in many ways. During this time, the US Mint was busy producing one of the most iconic coins in American history, the penny. However, this particular penny from 1981 is not just another run-of-the-mill coin. It has a unique story that makes it incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. One of the first things that make the 1981 penny special is the sheer volume of them that were produced. The US Mint created billions of pennies in 1981. These pennies were meant to be used in daily transactions, and most of them were circulated widely, passing through countless hands over the years. With so many coins in circulation, you might think that they'd all be worth close to nothing today. But, as we've seen with other rare coins, it's not always about the quantity, it's about the condition and the unique characteristics that make a coin stand out. So, what makes the 1981 penny so desirable to collectors? It comes down to two key factors: rarity and error. We all know that coins from certain years can be worth more due to their condition, but what sets the 1981 penny apart from others is the potential for minting errors, particularly the famous off-center error. This happens when the coin's design is struck off-center during the minting process. Instead of a perfectly centered image, you'll notice that the design is shifted, making the coin appear skewed or misaligned. These off-center errors are rare and are highly sought after by collectors because they are unique and can add significant value to a coin. Now, let's talk about another factor that could potentially increase the value of the 1981 penny: its composition. In 1981, the US Mint was still using the copper-plated zinc formula for pennies, but some 1981 pennies are believed to have been minted with a slightly different alloy. This minor variation in the metal composition has made certain 1981 pennies highly prized by collectors who are keen on finding any variation in the minting process. Even a slight difference in the metal can make a penny much rarer and more valuable, but the most intriguing aspect of the 1981 penny is its potential to fetch a hefty price on the collector's market. While most of the 1981 pennies you come across today are worth just 1 cent, there are a select few that could be worth a lot more, much more, in fact. If you manage to find an off-center 1981 penny in excellent condition, or one with another unique error or alloy variation, you could be sitting on a small fortune. This is where the real magic happens for coin collectors. So, how much are these rare 1981 pennies really worth? You might be wondering, how much could a penny really go for? Well, if you manage to find one of these rare 1981 pennies, especially an off-center error in pristine condition, it could be worth up to $56,000. Yes, you heard that right, $56,000 for a single penny. This is no ordinary coin, it's a treasure that could be hiding in your spare change jar, in that old coin roll you forgot about, or even tucked away in a collection you haven't looked at in years. Just think about it, a coin that's barely the size of your fingernail, something that you might have tossed into a jar without a second thought, could be worth an amount that could change your life. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Sometimes, the most ordinary seeming objects hold incredible value, and it's up to the dedicated collectors and treasure hunters to uncover these hidden gems. For those of you out there who are serious about your coin collection, this is a reminder to always keep an eye out for those subtle variations. If you have a 1981 penny in your collection, or if you come across one in your change, take a close look at it. Inspect it carefully for any errors or unusual characteristics. You never know, the next penny you find could be worth a lot more than you ever expected. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking: I've got a bunch of pennies from 1981, but how do I know if they're valuable? Well, the key is to check the condition and look for any signs of error. If you find one with a noticeable off-center strike or any other unusual feature, that's your cue that you might have a rare coin on your hands. If it's in pristine condition, your penny could be worth a pretty penny, pun intended. Before we wrap up, remember that coin collecting is about more than just the potential monetary value. It's about preserving pieces of history, uncovering hidden treasures, and connecting with a community of passionate collectors who share the same love for numismatics. Whether you're looking to make some money or simply enjoy the thrill of the hunt, the world of coin collecting is full of exciting discoveries. Top 3, we have a truly fascinating coin to talk about, the United States 1-cent coin from 1976. You might think, it's just a penny, what could be so special about it? Well, buckle up because this seemingly ordinary penny has a few secrets up its sleeve that could make it worth a whole lot more than you think. Let's take a moment to travel back in time to 1976, a year that was special for the United States. It was the bicentennial year, marking 200 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed. The U.S. Mint celebrated this milestone with a special series of coins, and the 1976 1-cent coin was part of that series. To commemorate this significant event, the U.S. Mint made some changes to the design of the coins, and these small modifications have since made them a rare and valuable find for collectors today. The 1976 penny, while not initially seen as an extraordinary coin, has gained attention over the years due to its association with the bicentennial celebration. The design for this coin still featured the traditional portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, but the reverse side was redesigned to include a small, subtle change to reflect the country's 200th anniversary. The coin features a depiction of the bicentennial bell, surrounded by stars, marking the event in American history. So, what makes the 1976 penny so valuable in the world of coin collectors? Well, just like any other collectible coin, it all comes down to rarity and condition. While the U.S. Mint produced billions of 1976 pennies, only a small percentage of them were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. The rest of the coins, over time, became worn down through daily transactions, passed through countless hands, and ended up with scratches, dings, or other signs of wear. This is where the rarity of the 1976 penny truly shines. Finding one in mint condition is a rare treasure, but hold on, it doesn't stop there. One of the key factors that can make a 1976 penny especially valuable is the potential for errors. Errors during the minting process can make a coin unique and highly sought after by collectors. In fact, certain 1976 pennies have been discovered with significant errors, such as the famous off-center strike. This occurs when the coin's design is improperly aligned during the minting process, making the image or text appear shifted or misaligned. These off-center coins are incredibly rare and can significantly increase a penny's value, as collectors love finding these unique mistakes. There's also another error to be on the lookout for, the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is improperly aligned, causing the design to appear doubled on the coin's surface. While not all 1976 pennies have this error, those that do are in high demand among collectors, and they can fetch much higher prices than a standard, unblemished coin. Imagine holding a coin that has this kind of minting mistake. It's like holding a piece of history that was never meant to exist. Another aspect of the 1976 penny that collectors pay close attention to is its metal composition. While most pennies were made with a solid copper composition, in 1976, the U.S. Mint used a copper-plated zinc mixture for the majority of these coins. This change in composition created slight variations in the coin's appearance and weight, which makes it an interesting item for collectors looking for specific metallic alloys from different years. Some 1976 pennies, particularly those from certain mints, are rarer because of these metal variations, which makes them even more valuable to a collector on the hunt for something unique. Now, I can hear some of you asking, how much could a 1976 penny really be worth? Well, let me answer that question. If you come across a 1976 penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, it could easily be worth a few dollars. But if you happen to find one with a rare error, such as the off-center strike or double die, that's where things get exciting. A penny with these errors can fetch a premium price, and if the coin is in outstanding condition, the value can skyrocket. And now, here's the moment you've all been waiting for, the true value of a 1976 penny with a rare error in mint condition. If you happen to find one of these rare 1976 pennies, it could be worth as much as $67,000. Yes, you heard that right, $67,000 for a single penny. That's more money than many people make in an entire year, and it's all wrapped up in a coin that you could find tucked away in your pocket change. So, if you've got one of these coins, or if you spot one in a coin roll or at a local shop, you could be holding onto something that has the potential to change your financial future. So, how can you spot a valuable 1976 penny? First, check the condition. Look for coins that are well preserved and free from wear and tear. Second, look for any minting errors. If the coin has an off-center strike or a double die error, you're holding onto something special. Lastly, make sure to check the metal composition and any variations that might exist. The rarer the coin, the higher the value. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just someone who enjoys the thrill of the hunt, always remember that even the smallest of coins can hold incredible value. A 1976 penny, which was once worth just 1 cent, could now be worth a small fortune. So, keep your eyes peeled, check your change, and don't overlook any coins that might seem ordinary at first glance. Who knows? You could be the lucky one to discover a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 4, we're diving into a coin that might be sitting in your pocket change right now. Yes, you guessed it, the United States 1-cent coin from 1984. This seemingly ordinary penny may not catch your attention at first glance, but trust me, there's more to this little coin than meets the eye. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just be holding onto something worth more than you ever imagined. Let's rewind to 1984. Ronald Reagan was president, and the U.S. economy was in a period of recovery following the early 1980s recession. This was a time when pennies were still widely circulated, making their way into millions of pockets across the country. The 1984 penny is a part of the Lincoln Memorial series, which was in circulation for decades, but it has some very unique qualities that have made it highly sought after by collectors over the years. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1984 penny so special? While many of these pennies were produced in huge numbers by the U.S. Mint, the true value lies in the rarity and the condition of the coin. Most 1984 pennies have been circulated through countless transactions and have suffered from wear and tear over time. But, here's where things get exciting. The 1984 penny in uncirculated, pristine condition is considered a real gem among collectors. Finding a penny that looks as if it was just minted, without any wear or damage, is incredibly rare. These uncirculated coins are much more valuable than the ones you're likely to find in circulation, but wait, there's more. It's not just about the condition, it's also about the errors that can occur during the minting process. And that's where the 1984 penny starts to get even more interesting. Like many other years, there were some unusual errors that happened during the production of the 1984 pennies. One of the most notable errors is the famous double die error. This occurs when the coin's die, used to stamp the design onto the coin, is misaligned during the minting process. As a result, the image, such as the date or the inscription, appears doubled or offset. This makes the coin unique, and collectors absolutely love finding these kinds of errors because they're rare and tell the story of a minting mistake that turned out to be a valuable treasure. Now, imagine finding a 1984 penny with a double die error. That would immediately make your coin stand out from the rest, and it could be worth much more than its original value. Coins with such errors are highly prized by numismatists and collectors, and they can drive up the price of the coin significantly. Another interesting factor with the 1984 penny is its metal composition. In 1984, the U.S. Mint was still using the copper-plated zinc formula for pennies. This was a significant shift from the solid copper pennies that had been used in previous years. However, this change in metal composition didn't go unnoticed by collectors, and some specific variations in the metal's appearance and weight have been identified. While the differences are often subtle, they make some 1984 pennies more desirable than others. So, let's get to the big question: how much is this little penny worth? If you happen to find a 1984 penny in excellent condition, it could be worth a few dollars or even a bit more, depending on its quality. But if you come across a 1984 penny with one of these minting errors, especially the coveted double die error, the value could increase dramatically. Imagine holding a coin with a mistake that makes it one of a kind. That's where the real excitement lies, and here's where it gets really interesting. Some of the rarest 1984 pennies have been known to sell for a jaw-dropping price. If you're lucky enough to find an uncirculated 1984 penny, or even better, one with a double die error, your coin could be worth as much as $51,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $51,000 for a single penny. It's incredible to think that something so small could hold such immense value, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. Coins are more than just currency, they're pieces of history, and some of them are worth far more than what's printed on them. So, what should you do if you think you've got one of these rare 1984 pennies? First, take a closer look at its condition. If it's in perfect, uncirculated condition, it's already more valuable than most of the pennies in circulation. Next, check for any errors. The double die error is the most common, but there are other minting mistakes that can increase the coin's worth. If you spot any unusual features or misalignments, make sure to get the coin appraised by a professional to determine its true value, but remember, it's not just about the money. Coin collecting is a passion for many, and part of the thrill is finding these rare pieces that tell a story. Whether it's the historical significance of a coin or the excitement of discovering something valuable in your collection, there's a real joy in the hunt. And the 1984 penny is a great example of how something as simple as a 1-cent coin can hold immense value when you know what to look for. Now, as we wrap up, let me remind you to always keep an eye out for these rare coins. You might just have a 1984 penny lying around in your change jar that could be worth more than you ever thought possible. So, check your pockets, sift through your old coins, and if you find a 1984 penny in exceptional condition or with an error, you could be holding on to a real treasure. Top 5, we're going to dive into something that might be sitting quietly in your coin jar. Yes, the United States 1-cent coin from 1980. Now, at first glance, you may think, it's just another penny, what's so special about it? But wait until you hear the full story behind this seemingly ordinary coin, because there are some hidden treasures within this little penny that could be worth a lot more than you think. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be amazed at how much this small coin could be worth. Let's take a step back to 1980. It was a time of great change in the United States. The country was in the midst of a challenging economic period with high inflation, rising interest rates, and a changing political landscape. In the world of numismatics, the 1980 penny was part of the ongoing series of Lincoln Memorial cents, which had been in circulation since 1959. This specific year, 1980, saw billions of pennies minted by the U.S. Mint, but what makes these pennies intriguing to collectors is the rarity of certain errors and the overall condition of the coins. Now, you may be wondering, what makes the 1980 penny so interesting? The answer lies in two key factors: its rarity and the errors that occurred during its minting process. While most of the 1980 pennies are common and have little value beyond their face value, some very rare versions of this penny are worth much more, especially those that were produced with errors. And this is where the story gets exciting. Minting errors can turn a run-of-the-mill penny into a collector's dream. One of the most important errors to watch out for in the 1980 penny is the famous double die error. This error happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design, such as the date, Lincoln's portrait, or the inscription, E pluribus unum, to appear doubled. These double die errors are highly prized by collectors because they are very rare and make the coin stand out in a way that other coins simply don't. Imagine stumbling upon a 1980 penny with the double die error. You'd be holding a unique piece of U.S. history that could be worth a significant amount of money. Another error that could make a 1980 penny more valuable is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin's design is stamped slightly off its intended position, creating a coin where the image is shifted to one side. These off-center pennies are rare, and while they might look a little unusual at first, they are highly desirable to collectors who are always on the lookout for minting mistakes. but it's not just about the errors. Condition is another key factor in determining the value of a 1980 penny. Most pennies from this era have been in circulation for years, passing through countless hands, and suffering from wear and tear along the way. However, if you happen to find a 1980 penny that is in uncirculated condition, you're already ahead of the game. Uncirculated coins are often the ones that can fetch a higher price in the market because they are harder to come by and retain much of their original detail and luster. Another aspect of the 1980 penny that can make it valuable is its composition. As many of you know, the U.S. Mint began transitioning the composition of pennies during the 1980s, shifting from solid copper to a copper-plated zinc mixture. While this change might seem small, it has resulted in slight variations in the appearance and weight of the coin, making some 1980 pennies rarer than others. If you come across a penny with any unusual characteristics in terms of its composition, that's another indicator that it could be a valuable find. So, how much can a 1980 penny really be worth? Well, if you're fortunate enough to find a 1980 penny in uncirculated condition, or even better, one with a minting error, you could be looking at a valuable coin. While most 1980 pennies are worth only 1 cent, rare coins with minting errors, like the double die or off-center strikes, can be worth much more. And if the coin is in outstanding condition and has an error, its value can increase exponentially. And now, here's the big reveal: if you manage to find a rare 1980 penny, especially one in near-perfect condition with an error, such as a double die or off-center strike, it could be worth as much as $54,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $54,000 for a single penny. It's amazing to think that a coin, which is often overlooked and dismissed as just spare change, could have such significant value. This just goes to show how important it is to pay attention to the small details when it comes to coin collecting. So, how can you spot a valuable 1980 penny? Start by carefully examining the condition of the coin. If it's in mint or uncirculated condition, you're already on the right track. Next, check for any minting errors, such as the double die or off-center strikes. These small flaws can drastically increase the value of the penny. Also, take note of any unusual characteristics in the metal composition, as some variations are more sought after than others. If you're unsure about the coin's authenticity or value, consider having it appraised by a professional numismatist. Coin collecting is all about finding those rare treasures hidden in plain sight, and the 1980 penny is a perfect example of how something so small can hold immense value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, always keep an eye out for those special coins. You never know, the next penny you find could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Top 6, we're going to take a closer look at a true gem from the past, the United States 1-cent coin from 1964. Now, you might be thinking, it's just another penny, but I promise you, there's far more to this small coin than you could ever imagine. If you're a coin lover or a collector, this video is going to blow your mind, so make sure to stay tuned until the end because you're about to learn just how much a 1964 penny could be worth today. Let's go back in time to 1964. It was a pivotal year in U.S. history. The country was experiencing a period of growth, with the economy on the rise and the world just a few years removed from World War II. The U.S. Mint was hard at work producing pennies, and the 1964 cent was part of the famous Lincoln Memorial Series, which was introduced in 1959. This series was used for decades, but it's the 1964 penny that stands out among collectors for a few really important reasons. So, why is the 1964 penny so special? The answer lies in its rarity, its historical significance, and some of the incredible errors that were made during the minting process. While the 1964 penny was produced in large numbers, more than 4 billion pennies were minted that year, there are specific features and mistakes that have made certain versions of the 1964 penny extremely valuable. First, let's talk about the general composition of the 1964 penny. This was one of the last years that the U.S. Mint produced pennies made entirely of copper. Starting in 1982, the penny would be made of copper-plated zinc, but in 1964, it was a solid copper coin, which gives it a distinctive weight and appearance that collectors appreciate. The solid copper composition also gives the 1964 penny a rich, reddish-brown color, which is very attractive when the coin is well preserved. Now, here's where things get interesting. While most of the 1964 pennies are fairly common, there are some very rare versions that are worth significantly more. What makes these rare pennies stand out? It's all about minting errors, small mistakes that occurred during the production process that turned a regular penny into a highly sought-after collector's item. One of the most famous errors associated with the 1964 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in a doubled image. When this happens to the date or the inscriptions on the coin, it creates a noticeable duplication that makes the coin unique. These double die errors are incredibly rare, and collectors will pay top dollar for a 1964 penny with this kind of flaw. If you come across a 1964 penny with a doubled date or doubled lettering, you've got yourself a very valuable find, but the double die isn't the only error to look out for. Another error that can make the 1964 penny more valuable is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press during minting, causing the design to be off-center. The result is a coin where the image is skewed, which makes it stand out from the rest. Off-center strikes are much rarer than regular pennies, and collectors find them fascinating because they represent a rare moment of imperfection in an otherwise standard coin. In addition to these errors, the overall condition of the 1964 penny plays a huge role in its value. Like many other coins, the 1964 penny can range in value depending on its grade. Pennies that have been kept in pristine condition, with no signs of wear and tear, are much more valuable than those that have been used in everyday transactions. If you find a 1964 penny that looks almost as good as the day it was minted, well, you might be holding onto a small fortune, but let's not stop there. If you find a 1964 penny that is not only in perfect condition but also has one of these rare minting errors, you could be looking at something really special. These coins are highly sought after by collectors and can fetch prices that might surprise you. And here's the big reveal: if you have a rare 1964 penny with a double die error or an off-center strike, or one that is in absolutely perfect, uncirculated condition, it could be worth as much as $78,000. That's right, a single penny could be worth $78,000. Imagine that, just a single penny, worth more than a brand new car or even a down payment on a house. It's hard to believe, but it's the reality of coin collecting. A small mistake during minting, or a well-preserved coin, could make all the difference in determining the value of your collection. If you happen to find a 1964 penny with any of these characteristics, you could be sitting on a gold mine. So, how can you tell if your 1964 penny is worth big money? Start by examining the condition of the coin. If it's in excellent, uncirculated condition, it's already worth more than its face value. Next, look for any minting errors, like the double die or off-center strike. These small flaws can make all the difference in the coin's value. And remember, the more unique and rare the coin, the more valuable it becomes in the eyes of collectors. Now, if you're lucky enough to own a 1964 penny with one of these rare errors, or if you find one in your change or collection, make sure to get it appraised by a professional numismatist. They'll be able to tell you the true value of your coin and guide you through the process of selling it if you choose to do so. Top 7 and last rare coin. We're about to uncover the hidden treasure in your pocket change that might just be worth more than you ever imagined. We're talking about the United States 1-cent coin from 1960. At first glance, this might seem like just another penny, but trust me, there's much more to this coin than meets the eye. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who loves a good coin hunt, this video is for you. By the end, you might be checking your drawers or piggy bank to see if you've got a fortune waiting for you. Let's take a step back in time to 1960, a year that was filled with historic moments. It was the height of the Cold War, and in the US, the country was just starting to feel the effects of the post-World War II economic boom. The 1960 penny was part of the iconic Lincoln Memorial series, which had been in circulation since 1959. This series, featuring the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side of the coin, was an instant hit and became a staple in everyday currency. But while 1960 pennies are still common today, there's something special about a small fraction of them that could make them incredibly valuable. Now, you might be asking yourself, what makes the 1960 penny so special? Well, what sets it apart from other pennies minted in the same decade are the rare minting errors and unique characteristics that some of them possess. You see, coins aren't always made perfectly, and those little imperfections can actually make a coin more valuable than you might think. Minting errors can include things like doubled dates, missing elements, and even off-center strikes. These little flaws turn an otherwise normal penny into a rare treasure. One of the most notable errors found on the 1960 penny is the famous double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the design onto the coin shifts slightly between impressions, causing a doubling effect on the date, lettering, or other design elements. The 1960 penny with a double die is incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. If you find a 1960 penny with a doubled date or the iconic doubled Liberty, you're looking at a coin that could be worth a significant amount more than just 1 cent. These doubled images are clearly visible and make the coin stand out in a collection. Another error that can make a 1960 penny more valuable is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't perfectly aligned with the press during minting, causing the design to shift to one side. Off-center pennies are very rare, and even though they may look like mistakes, they're highly desirable to coin collectors. A 1960 penny with an off-center strike can fetch a good price, especially if the misalignment is significant, but it's not just errors that make the 1960 penny valuable, it's also about the coin's condition. Many of these pennies were used in daily transactions and saw a lot of wear and tear over the years. If you happen to find a 1960 penny that's in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's already a huge win. A well-preserved coin retains its original luster and detail, making it much more appealing to collectors. The higher the grade of the coin, the more valuable it becomes. So, make sure to inspect your 1960 pennies closely to see if you've got one in mint condition. In addition to errors and condition, the overall rarity of the 1960 penny is another factor that contributes to its value. While the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies during the 1960s, finding a penny from this year in exceptional condition or with a rare minting error is a challenge. The sheer rarity of these coins is what drives up their worth. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins like these because they're harder to find, making them more valuable in the market. Now, let's get to the fun part. Just how much could a 1960 penny be worth? While most of the 1960 pennies you come across will only be worth their face value of 1 cent, a rare version with a minting error or one in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth a lot more. If you're lucky enough to have a 1960 penny with a double die error or an off-center strike, or even one that's in perfect condition with no signs of wear, then you could be looking at a coin worth far more than you think. How much? Well, if your 1960 penny is one of the rare ones, it could be worth as much as $81,000. Yes, you heard that right, $81,000 for a single penny. It's truly mind-blowing to think that something so small and seemingly insignificant could be worth so much. That's the magic of coin collecting. The right coin, at the right time, can lead to an unexpected treasure. If you find a 1960 penny with one of these rare minting errors, or if it's in exceptional condition, it could make you a small fortune. So, always keep your eyes peeled and never underestimate the value of a coin, no matter how old or common it might seem. So, how do you know if your 1960 penny could be worth a lot of money? Start by carefully inspecting the coin for any visible minting errors. Look for doubled dates, doubled letters, or off-center strikes. Next, check the overall condition of the coin. If it looks like it was just minted and hasn't been circulated much, it's definitely worth more than a penny. And finally, if you're unsure about the value of your coin, consider having it appraised by a professional numismatist. They can give you a precise estimate and help you understand just how much your 1960 penny is worth. Coin collecting is all about discovering these hidden treasures, and the 1960 penny is a perfect example of how something so small can hold incredible value. Whether you're new to collecting or a seasoned pro, keep searching through your collection because you never know what rare find might be waiting for you. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed learning about the 1960 penny and its potential value, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting, and who knows, that next penny you find could be worth a small fortune.